So,
I got a pretty relaxing day today, so it's good.
well, that's good. How was your time with your grandbabies?
Oh, honey, that was a nightmare.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, my granddaughter that's 15 years old. I had to check her BL a couple of times. I don't know what it is with these teenagers, but I had to tell her, you will not talk shit to me. I don't put up with that.
Oh, well, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Not,
she was just very, very disrespectful. I mean, she brought her guinea pig up here in the cage, which I don't do animals, but she's attached to the guinea pig. I said, okay, I'm not gonna worry about it. I'm gonna help her with the little guinea pig. It looks like a rat to me, but I'm like, okay, I'm gonna not be scared. I'm gonna help her with this animal. I'm trying to tell her what to do with the cage. She's trying to argue with me. I'm like, look, little girl, I ain't got time for it. And I had to tell my daughter, you better check her because her attitude is bad and somebody will hurt her with that type of behavior. You have to
uh-huh.
teach her respect. My kids better not say jack one word to my mother, period.
Mm,
You
yeah,
better keep your opinion to yourself and take it to the Creator. You will not be disrespectful, not to my 78-year-old mother.
yeah.
I'll be 55 years old and not once have I been disrespectful. My mother talked that crap to you, but I still have never been disrespectful. And I'm like, I don't do disrespect. My daughter ended up leaving a couple of days early because I think she had an attitude, but I don't give a damn. Stay down in Texas, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Take that behavior right back on down there where you came from because I don't do disrespect.
Wow.
I just,
Well,
I
but
don't
you know what?
understand
This
it.
generation of kids, it's almost. I almost want to say there's a world out there that's teaching them something completely different from what we teach them at home, and
And that's
it's
true.
it's that whole concept of you can tell somebody something one time, but if they're getting the opposite 5 times, they're going to go with what they're getting more, what's being fed more.
And that's true. And I had a conversation with my daughter about, the kids have electronic devices. They have iPhones and all of that. And I was like, do you monitor, what they looking at? My little granddaughter that's 8 was like, oh, I want a boyfriend. She was in my living room twisting. I'm like, what are why are you watching videos like that? My daughter that's 19 was not allowed to look at BET, was not allowed to look at anything like that. I'm like, why are you allowing them to look at whatever they want to look at on YouTube? I don't understand that. And she wasn't raised that way.
Mm. Well, I think you can add, let me see, if you put life, if you put the running, and I'm not saying this is your daughter per se, but in general, we've got we're spending an hour or 2 hours a day in commute, where a lot of the women are outside the home. The
Right.
kids are spending more of their time in school with teachers and other students who don't have the same values that you have. They're being inundated with technology in school. They have their cell phones, they've got the computers, the iPads, pods, pads, whatever them things are. And then they come home with more cell phones, social media, computers, etc. All of that is being put into them. And here's the question: how many of us parents, moms and dads, are putting that much time back into our children to counter what they're getting elsewhere?
No,
No,
I
we're
just,
busy chasing a dollar. We're busy
right.
being on Master's job and doing what he say and bringing the work home to finish the work at night so that we can do what? So we can shine when we get to work tomorrow. We're scrambling to get the house clean, to get the food cooked, to get the little baby to the babysitter or back from the babysitter. We might get a date night in between here and there somewhere. For those of us who are less parent oriented, we might be dropping the kids at grandmama and doing our own thing. And grandmama, she done raised us, just like you're talking about your grandbabies. You'll spend time with them, but you're not raising them. So
Right.
grandmama's gonna babysit. She's gonna enjoy them, but she ain't raising them. And so it's almost, I want to say, for lack of a better term, sign of the times. This is
Yeah,
where
it
we
is.
are. With life is moving so fast. What was that song? My car goes 0 to 60 in 5.2 or something like that. We're moving just that fast. We're rushing. We're not taking the time to savor anything, not taking the time to enjoy life, to get the pearls, to ingest them, to get them in us. No, we're moving, and our kids are getting lost in the shuffle.
And that's what I had to explain to her. I said, look, honey, I will be 55 in July. I said, I'm at a point in my life where I enjoy, BL, the peace and quiet. I enjoy getting up at the crack of dawn in the morning, sitting on my front porch, listening to the birds, drinking my morning cup of coffee, the actual peace, because I've worked all my life, the hustle, the bustle, and, having to take care of kids and make sure this one's at daycare, make sure this one's at football, and make sure this one's at dance, and this one's at activity. And that was back in the time when I was attending church, making sure I was at Bible study, making sure I was at women's ministry, making sure I was at church on Sunday, making sure I took care of my husband, making sure the kids had what they need, come in from a 10-hour job, kick off my shoes, wash my hands, prepare dinner, study for school, take care of him, take care of the kids. Then I'm up at 12 o'clock at night studying, for my exam. I mean, just year after year after year after year after year. And now I'm at an age where I can take life easy. And I refuse, BL, to have my peace interrupted. I'm like, I've done my job as a mother. My oldest is 35. My youngest is 19, which my youngest is very mild-mannered. My two younger daughters, they real malmannered. My daughter that's even in the ministry, although BL, I don't do church, but even the one that's in the ministry, her children do not have cell phones. Her children do have electronics, but they have a certain time that they look at it. She monitors what they watch, and they don't play video games or anything during the week when they're in school. She has a certain time for them to do that, and I commend her for that. I commend her for, doing it that way, because that's the way she was raised. You didn't play video games in my house all during the week. You went to school, you got your education. On the weekends, we did our chores, and then if you have time to play video games, you can do that. But, my daughter that's in Texas, she's hustling and bustling. She, like you said, she lives an alternative lifestyle than what I'm with, but you busy, and you're not monitoring them. Those kids, just because you're a mother, you have to raise those children. And not necessarily buy them things to compensate them. Because I know as a parent, I'm very guilty of overcompensating my kids and spoiling my kids to a degree. And you trust and believe, it kicked me in the butt when they got older too. Because I noticed some kids that were given less had more respect for their parents, and I've had some disagreements with my kids because they were spoiled and privileged, and they felt entitled, even as adults. And I had to sit them down and say, wait a minute, I gave y'all the things I didn't have, and I overcompensated because at the time I had, made a 5-figure job. My husband had a 5-figure job. We had the excess to give you all, but you all were doing what you were supposed to do. You were going to school. You were making good grades. You had to cut the grass. You had chores, and we did overcompensate. But you are grown now. You are not entitled to anything. The only thing that you're entitled to is respect. I don't have to help you pay your bills. You're not going to keep depending on me. You better go out here and do what you need to do.
And how did that go?
Yes. Oh, it went pretty good because my one son, I told you, him and his baby's mother, every time they had a fallout, he wanted to run back home. Hell to the no.
You stay home and work it out.
Yes, you need to work it out. And every time we let our children come back, especially the boys, not my girls, when I let my two sons come back, you don't want to work it out because you feel like, I can run home. You can't run from life. You need to stand up and man up. You made this child. You got married. You need to work it out. Life ain't going to be easy. Marriage damn sure ain't easy.
Right.
I'm divorced now after many years.
I disagree with the parents who, when their children, begin life in whether it's a marriage or whether it's a live-in situation, whatever the case may be, when they go out and they make home elsewhere with someone else and they begin a family, when stuff gets rough, I have issue with parents that allow the mad child to come home and live for a month or 2 or 3 instead of telling them, okay, you can stay here for the night and deal with your anger, and then you get your behind up tomorrow and you go back and you deal with your husband and, tell him what your feelings are, address it, and work it out. I've
Right.
seen too
And I
many
feel like,
parents allow these kids to come back home because they're mad. Instead of making them work it out, let them wind up, getting involved in other
and you know,
stuff, other
BL,
people. It's just, ugh. Mm-hmm.
I've been guilty. I've been guilty of that before because my son was kind of younger. But you know, it came to a point where, look here, check this out. I know you're angry. Y'all need to woosah for a minute. She can be over there. You can be over here. But you need to go back and figure it out because I have a child now. And at the end of the day, y'all have to get on a plan, on a decent wavelength with one another to figure out what's wrong. Both of y'all childish. You have to grow up. When you bring a child into this world, I don't give a damn if you're ready for it or not. You have to stand up and you have to be grown. You did an adult thing, so you have to act like an adult. You cannot come back here and live. You have to work it out with her. What are you going to do when I die and I'm not going to be around? You're going to have to figure it out. So you go back over there and you figure it out. Long as there's no physical abuse taking place, you need to work it out.
Exactly. And
I mean,
actually,
you cannot live with me.
that segues into one of the things that I wanted to talk about today, actually, because, in the process of me initially telling my story regarding the church and my marriage, etc., on Lance's channel, a year ago or two, or however long. Oh, no, Lance knew about it, I think, a year before we even published the situation.
Okay.
But since then, I've gotten a lot of feedback, and I've had a lot of people, like I met you through Lance's channel, and several people who have reached out for guidance, assistance, etc., one way or another, because they're dealing with some of the same stuff. But I was on with someone yesterday, and it was just ringing so hard to me about how many women and men are carrying so much of baggage and have been abused for so long.
Yeah.
It just hurt me so, and I felt it before, but it was just so heavy on me yesterday. I'm speaking to this person and I'm just feeling it, and it's just like, wow, why do we not get the message? Why are we not getting it? How much we are hurting each other. And this particular, just to give back, I'm not going to give too many details, although oddly, there are many parallels in her story with my story, as well as, two other people I've been talking with. But this particular person, she wasn't wanted. The pregnancy was not planned. And
Wow.
so it starts out from the very beginning of, here you are and you messing up my plan. That energy
Wow.
started, from the day she was born, because her mom did not want her. Her mom was in relationship with someone else and had an affair. And so she's the child of that. And so, and it created some issues. I think the mom wound up breaking up with the person she was with, et cetera, et cetera. And so this child carries the burden of having messed up her mother's life. How many children, right? How many children are brought into the world unplanned, and unplanned to the point of the parents are not able to regroup and roll with the program? Now, I'll be the first to say, yes, I have a set of twins, and no, I was not planning to get pregnant the day I did the do to get them. However, when I found out I rolled up my sleeves and said, oh, okay, I received this as a blessing. Let's roll with it. Let me regroup. Let me regroup my life to accommodate this blessing that's coming to me. It wasn't a matter of, oh, well, I'm not quite where I want to be professionally. And at that point, I'd been advancing. I was being promoted, if not every year, every other year. I was promotion on top of promotion. So I'm on a roll moving up the career, up the career ladder. So technically, having children at that time, I don't know if it impacted my career in such a way or whatever. And honestly, I never even thought about it, because when I found out I was pregnant, career was no longer my first choice. Yeah, I still need to pay my mortgage and my car note and all of that. But my first priority became my baby. And then it turned into babies when I found out it was twins. But how
Wow.
many
I didn't know you
people,
had a set of twins. That's
yeah, my
beautiful.
girls are twins. So, but I'm just wondering how many get pregnant and they don't have that same response.
Well,
They and then the
BL, I
kids
had,
would carry that negative energy, for life.
yeah, they do. Now, I had my daughter, my youngest daughter. I was 35 when I had her, and my son was 9. My younger son was 9. All 4 of my older children, they have the same dad, and we broke up. And I wasn't prepared for it. I was running a daycare. I made good money. I'm thinking, my son is 9 now. He's more independent. Boom, I get pregnant. Had a relationship with a guy, and I tell you, BL, the first time I was pregnant, I knew exactly when I got pregnant. Wasn't prepared for it, didn't even like him. Okay? So, but, like you said, once again, don't like him now. But him and my daughter have a wonderful relationship. She has the luxury of having her stepfather, which is my ex-husband, and her biological father in her life. So she has the best of both worlds. And her dad, her biological dad, doesn't live very far from me. Believe it or not, he lives less than about 4 blocks from my home. And they have a wonderful relationship. But
That's
I
good.
wasn't prepared at 35 years old. BL, I cried. I cried because I was like, abortion's not an option. Hey, put your grown panties on. I told all my daycare people, I said, look, I'm pregnant. I didn't find out, BL, till I was 20 weeks pregnant because I thought I had the flu. They said, yeah, you do have the flu, but we got a surprise for you. You're pregnant. I cried for 2 days, and I said, you know what? I'm going to continue to do my daycare. I told all my daycare clients, I said, look, I'm 4 months pregnant, going almost 5 months pregnant. I said, in 4 months, I'm closing my daycare. I'm going to devote a whole year to taking care of my daughter, and then I'm going to get back into the workforce. And that's exactly what I did. And my daughter has been a blessing to me. And although, like you say once again, I wasn't prepared. I thought I was done having kids. They said, well, after I had my son, I had gestational diabetes. And I was working at the VA Medical Center as a cook. And they was like, well, I kept passing out. They was like, well, you can't keep working because you got gestational diabetes. You can't have any more kids. I hemorrhaged after I had them. And I chalked that up. I can't have any more kids. I ain't going to worry about it. 9 years later, wham, here comes Tamia. and I embraced it. And I think I was a better parent with her, I must say, than I was with any of my children. I was older. I was more knowledgeable. My daughters, they were teenagers at the time. My son was 12. I think Ricky was 12. And my youngest son was 9. And they helped a lot, and it really worked out.
And sometimes that makes a difference, the age.
But for somebody to come into this world and you feel like you're a burden and your parents make you feel like you're a burden, I don't know what that feels like. And it hurts my heart to even think about a gift that the Creator gave you, the gift of life itself in a child, that you would make that child feel unwanted.
And see, that's
hurtful.
And they carry that. And what I actually was sharing with her was, because my beginning is somewhat similar, and I remember at various points along the way, my mother, our relationship wasn't the greatest, and she was young, but she did have some help. She had quite a bit of help. However, I remember being told you aren't wanted. If abortions were legal, I would have gotten rid of you. Those kinds of things growing up. So I get it. And it struck me, here's this person. I know what I went through with a mom that didn't necessarily want me, and made very clear that, my coming in, and not just me, my brother as well, coming onto the scene totally changed her life, and she would do things different. And, she kind of regretted having us and that sort of thing. But I'm hearing other people. And then this girl, like I said yesterday, I was talking to, and it's ringing so hard I'm listening to the things that her family, that her mother is putting her through. And we've got to wake up and realize mothers, and I want to say this to every woman. I might get a little graphic here because daddy, gets graphic. And if, I hang around him, some of it rubs off on me. If you woman enough to get it, you be woman enough to raise it. Not provided food and that's it. I mean, raise it. If you can't, then you pass that baby on to somebody that can. There's somebody in your family that it done past the menopause age, but still is able to care for a child. It's somebody in your family that's, sterile, can't have children. It's somebody or grandmama knows, or mama knows, or somebody knows that would provide a loving, nurturing environment for that child to be raised in. And if you're not going to do it, if you're not willing to shift from your career, your personal priorities, your selfishness, and everything else for that child, then you need to get that child up, period. Because what we're doing, especially Black people, and that's what I'm focusing on, we're just perpetuating a whole nother generation of someone that's unwanted, that grows up feeling unwanted, that's going to be neglected in some way because you don't want them, so you're going to go neglect them. You're not going to give them everything that they need or everything that you're able to give them. And not so much the stuff, not so much a nice house or a car to get them back and forth to soccer practice and all that. But I mean the love, the attention, the learning, the pearls of wisdom, those things that they're going to need to survive in life, period. If you don't want them, you're not going to spend time giving them that stuff. So you're preparing them, or not really preparing them for failure, but just setting them up for failure. And we got to stop that. We got to stop. It's enough is enough. So, you know what, women, close. I say, I almost said it the way my grandmama would have said it. I'm going to say, Big Dot ain't here, so I'm going to say, women, close your damn legs. If you know you're not able to do that, close your legs. Men, if you're not able to do it,
that is so true. And like I said, when my kids got a certain age, my older 4 kids, not my youngest one, because she was kind of small at the time, I sit my children down, and I told them, I said, with tears in my eyes, I said, I truly apologize for the times that, it's emotional for me that I wasn't there. Not because, BL, I was in the club, but because I was on the clock providing for my children. And at times I know, even though we out here grinding, we're working 10 or 12 hours a day, sometimes they do need us and we're not there. And I apologize to my children. I said, forgive me for not being there when maybe you needed me. Maybe you needed to talk to me. But I'm here now. I apologize. Because I know I gave you things, like you said. I provided a wonderful home for you, a safe environment, moved to a safe environment, put you in the better schools, made sure you had everything you needed. But, again, like you say, BL, was I there emotionally? Sometimes I wasn't. And now to this day, me and my children have a wonderful relationship. But I was one of the people, BL, that could confess to my children, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't have all the answers. I was a young, learning parent. I came from a parent. I told you I had 2 wonderful parents, but my parents were alcoholics. I don't drink to this day because of that. But although they were there, like you said, they were there physically for me, sometimes emotionally they wasn't there. So I had to learn the best way I could at 15 years old how to take care of myself. And me and my mother's relationship was strained for a long time behind it. And now we're good. We're in a good place. You know, we're able to talk. We're able to respect one another. And I love my mother exactly right where she is. And thank God to the Creator. My mother is no longer alcoholic. Thank you.
Well, all right then.
Thank
all right.
you. Yes, my mother's 78. She's doing wonderful. She's feisty. My dad is deceased. But I had to tell my children, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I wasn't there for certain times and certain things. But they understood. Do I be here and neglect you guys? Because I never got a damn dime of child support from from their dad. And all 4 of them have the same dad. He chose to do drugs. I chose to take care of my children. I said, but to provide for you all, sometimes, you know, it makes you not be able to be there.
Right. Mhm.
Because I didn't have a group of people always around me to say, "Oh, I'll get the kids. I'll do this. I'll do that. I'll do this. I do that." My children had to learn at an early age. We got to be responsible. This is what you got to do, because I didn't want to leave my children with anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I had to
Right.
raise them with, you have to be responsible. I have to go to work. But I always try to take jobs where within the daytime, so I could be there in the
At night.
evening. They may have to
Mhm.
be home an hour by themselves or whatever, but I tried to be there. But I still
Mm.
had to apologize, like you said, BL, to say, "I'm sorry." And some parents don't see that. They think, "Why give them everything?" But are you giving them what they need?
Exactly. Exactly. But this girl, her to give a little bit of her story, she was basically half raised. There were some abuses. Obviously there was some neglect, there was some physical, there was some emotional, and there was definitely some sexual. And so again, that comes along with, if you are a parent and you didn't want the child and you're not doing for the child, you open them up to all of this. You open them, and sexual abuse is probably, oh, I won't say it's worse than emotional abuse, because emotional abuse, they fall in two different categories in your brain, I guess, if you will. But the emotional abuse is the words. That's the stuff that's put in that damages your self-esteem from one direction. The sexual abuse, you have the emotional side of it, and then you have the physical memory of it. And as a
Wow.
person who's been sexually abused, I could go there with her, and I could take myself back to, a specific event. And depending on where you are in your journey of healing with that, going back to that event can totally set you up for a whole nother bout of PTSD. Or,
And that's true.
you're at a point where you can talk about it. And she's, she's struggling in her journey. She's definitely struggling in her journey, and I'm working with her. But it's just, it's ringing to me how parents set their children up for failure, if you will. And I go back to, close your damn legs, wrap it up, or don't even take it out. Stay your behind home and read a book.
Right.
Do something other than make a baby, or do the do that could possibly make a baby. So this child, this girl, and I say she's a child, she's at least 20 years younger than I am. So she's got the histories of the sexual, the physical, the emotional abuse, the neglect. Just because it wasn't a money rich situation. So, there were some times that they had to go without here and there, and many of us have experienced that. But
Right.
when you add that on top of the abuses, it makes those missing times, or those neglectful times, harder. You don't see it as neglect. I mean, you don't see it as, we're just in poverty, and mom still loves us and she's doing for us. You see it as, mom doesn't love me and she's not even making a way to make sure I have the food that I need. There's a difference with it. And over
Right.
time, it impacts, obviously it impacts the health. We wind up with, not we, well, yeah, we wind up with PTSD. You wind up with all kinds of anxieties and endocrine problems. You wind up with immune system problems. You wind up with various ear infections and colds and things like that. That's because the energy that's in you now is discombobulated. It's not flowing the way it needs to flow. And you have hurts and pains and hangups that you didn't ask for, but you have to do life with it. And sadly, what do we Black people do? We tell each other, shut up and get over it. We tell each other, suck it up and move on. We tell each other, well, so what, you're hurting, put your big girl panties on and keep it moving. We don't
Yeah.
allow them to express those hurts and those pains. We don't provide the hugs, the kisses, the ear for them to vent, the solution if they need a solution. If it's $5, if it's a walk with them in the park, if it's sitting with them holding the baby, or cooking breakfast for them, whatever it is, whatever the need, however small it may be, we don't even take the time to do that. Or what we're good for, telling them, oh, pray about it, God will fix it. To me, that's an excuse to do nothing. So folk that know me know now, don't ever come to me with some mess about, oh, just pray about it, it'll be okay. Because if
You
I
know
come
what?
to you with it, I done already prayed. But faith without works is dead. So there's got to be some action to go along with it. I've humbled
Yeah.
myself enough to come to you for help. Then you be the Christian you say you are and help me. And don't send me back to praying. I done probably already prayed. You know?
And you know what? And you're so right. And I know my son may not want me to share this, but I am. I'm not going to give his name, but I'm going to share this. About 2 weeks ago, BL, him and his baby's mom, they have issues, whatever. And me and him was out in public, and he had a full-blown anxiety panic attack.
Mm.
And he's never had this that I know of. I know some years ago he had one, and I told him. And I sit him down, and I told him, look, I don't know what's going on with you and her, but any time that it's impacting you in this type of way, where the place that we were at, they literally called the police on him.
Wow.
Yeah. And I end up talking to them, telling them, look here, I got him under control. I can get him calmed down. Please don't put your hands on him. Because, you know, when a person's having an anxiety attack, they're thinking somebody's trying to harm them.
Right.
You know, and had he hit that person, you know, whatever, you know, the police instantly probably would have threw my son to the ground, hurt him and everything, and he's small in stature, you know. And I'm like, look, don't touch him. Don't touch him. I got him. And we end up coming home, and we end up sitting down. The police didn't take him to jail or anything. They said, okay, as long as you can get him under control, we will not arrest him. But given the fact that he's having an anxiety attack, we are instructed to take him to Western Missouri, you know, for a diagnostic or whatever.
Right.
So I'm like, I got this under control. So me and him came home. We sit down. You know, he poured his heart out, crying and everything. I said, look, y'all need to separate. You need to do what you need to do to take care of your daughter. But if you experiencing anxiety and stress to this degree, you need to leave that demon alone. You know, and come to find out, she's pregnant by someone else.
Lord.
It's a mess. It's a mess. And I told you, you know, when my kids are wrong, you know, I'll tell you the truth. You know me, I'm always transparent. My son works 2 damn jobs. She don't have to work. She didn't have to do anything.
He ain't got time to make no second baby.
While he's out here working, got her an apartment, paying all the bills. He's out here working. He's doing what she want to do. And I guess he had been thinking about just overthinking it, you know? And on top of, what am I going to do? I'm not going to be in my baby's life, and I'm not going to be with her or whatever. And just snapped out. Wow. And I just thank God. I do thank the Creator, BL, that I was there with him to witness this.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, the police would have thrown him to the ground and beat the hell out of him. Who knows what they would have done?
You're right. You are so right.
And I live in the WS community. You know what I'm saying? Where it's about 30-40% of us and the rest of them. And I live like 5 minutes from the police station. So who knows what they would have done?
Right.
Just so happened one of the officers that came knew my son from playing football, because my son played football throughout, you know, high school and college. And he knew him. And he was like, hey, don't touch him. His mom got him. You know, he's not on drugs. He's not on anything. I can tell that he's having an anxiety attack because he's not only a police officer. He's, you know, I guess got training in mental health and things like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And now my son has got himself together. I'm like, you need to get your own place. You need to get a lawyer. You need to get joint custody for your daughter so you can spend time with your daughter. But you need to leave her alone, because if somebody is making you feel that bad, and stressing you that bad and causing you to have, like you said, PTSD, anxiety, panic attacks, where you putting your life in danger and you may not be here for your daughter. What if you had to run out in traffic or anything?
Exactly.
Because the place we were at is on a real busy street, and it's really bad. It's like a highway.
Wow.
And all of a sudden, I could tell that something was going on with him, but I'm looking, and I'm in the store, and I'm texting him from my phone, like, are you okay? You know, I walked up on him, are you okay? He's like, yeah, you know, these people are acting weird. Now, BL, nobody's acting weird. Nobody's bothering him.
Mm.
But this is what he's telling himself. And I told him, you need to get some help. You have good insurance. You need to get some help. And even if it's to just talk to a therapist, maybe that's what you need. I'm not going to say you need medication or anything, but go see a therapist. Go see somebody that's not biased, that don't know you, that you can vent to, and maybe they can help you.
Right.
Because, sometimes they don't want to hear our opinion. Because, I know both sides of the relationship. So
Right.
go talk to somebody who don't know. And sometimes that's better for you.
Well, my philosophy on that, I think everybody should have some sort of therapist in their
I
Rolodex
see a
because
therapist,
life
BL.
happens.
I tell you all the time, mental health is real. I have 5 children. I see a therapist. Every 2 months, I go see my therapist. He's a Nigerian doctor because I will not see these other people. I got to see somebody that, that works with me and that has a good rapport with me, and he's wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been seeing him for some years, and I don't miss my appointment because I'm like, mental health is the same as your body. You need a
Exactly.
mental health checkup just like you need a physical checkup. And it keeps me in tune.
Well, I
But
hate that. But I'm glad he's getting himself together because
But I was devastated.
well, as a mother, I can imagine.
Because I'm like, I didn't know what was going on. I could hear him across the room telling people don't touch him. So, as a mother, your son's voice. He's saying, don't touch me. I'm running through the place. Like, who is putting their hands on my son? It's about to go down.
Time to roll.
Yeah, we all going to jail up in here. But it wasn't that. He was having an anxiety attack. And I told him, I said, I'm so grateful that I was there with you. But I'm like, I never taught my sons not to cry. I never told my sons because they hurt themselves, suck it up, you're a boy. No, you have feelings, you have emotions, just like anybody else. If you need help, we can talk about it. There's nothing that my children cannot come to me and talk to me about. Ain't no suck it up and go pray and all of that. Yeah, hell, you already prayed.
Right.
Sometimes you pray, and like they used to say back in the day, oh, well, you ask in Jesus' name, and Jesus goes, here's your prayer, and it goes to. No, I don't need Jesus right now. I need to go to the big man. Jesus can move out the way. This is a big problem. I need to go straight to God with this one. And I'm like, I don't care what people think about it. Sometimes you need help. Prayer's not doing it.
Exactly.
Ain't no pray and sit in the corner. Sometimes you need to talk to somebody. You need to vent. You need to get it out. And like I tell people, what goes in has to come out. If it goes in and it stays in, it's going to come out, BL, with anger, with frustration, with
in the
hate,
wrong ways.
with hostility.
Exactly. And that you're so very right.
Then you wonder why your sons walk around with anger and hatred and want to kill each other. They don't have fathers. They don't have nobody to vent to. Some of the mothers, like you say, tell them, suck it up, you a boy. No, he's a human being, and he has a soul, and he has feelings, and there's not a damn thing wrong with crying. Crying cleanses the soul. Sometimes you have to go somewhere and cry and get it out.
Wow.
Yes, you do.
But yeah, that's what I wanted to see. We are in. I started with the girl story, but it's not just girls. It's boys too. It's male and female. And as we grow, and I guess it kind of brings us to where we are as adults. We get through life with all of our stuff. We get to the age of 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 50, however old we are, we're adults. And we have baggage that has not been dealt with, or maybe hasn't been dealt with to the level that it needs to be. And then we see fine mama over there, oh hey Foxy Brown, and you throw your little rap and she rap back, and the next thing you know, y'all exchanging numbers. 6 months down the road, you're looking at being exclusive with each other, whatever the case may be. But how many of us, or how many men, or how many women have taken the time to say, okay, let's talk about your past. Let's talk about those demons and those skeletons in your closet that you haven't dealt with. How many are transparent about them? And
You're
how
right.
many men say to the women, okay, I want to hear about your skeletons. It's not to judge you, but it's because I want to be with you and I need to know what skeletons you're working with. Same thing, women to the men. Yeah, I want to be with you. I think you might be a good fit for me long term, etc., or permanently, whatever the case may be. But I need to know about your skeletons. I need to know what happened to you as a young boy. What takes you back to that little boy's uh, point in your life where you're paralyzed and you can't do anything or anymore? How have you handled that? Where are you with that? How can we move forward with that? These are things I need to know in order to be a good woman to you. And same thing, man, this is what I need to know in order to be a good man or good husband for you. And how about let's go deal with our skeletons together? And how?
You're right. Because we
Mm,
don't ask those questions. We don't ask those questions. And you have a terrific point. Then we wonder, BL, why come our relationships are not working? Why our marriages are not working? Why our relationships with our children are not working? Because, as you say, once again, nobody wants to be transparent because we have an agenda. We want to get that man, or that man wants to get that woman. So we want to send our representatives to get that person, not the real us. Because if somebody loves you, it's unconditional. And they have to know the inside of you. And, like I tell people, don't worry about the outside of me because we all change. Shit, I got some gray hairs. I got some wrinkles. I got a little stage light or whatever. I'm 55 years old. What about the inside of my soul? That's what you want to get to know. And I'm very flawed. I am a flawed individual. We all have a past, and it's just that. But like you say, BL, if we don't sit down and say, hey, these are the things that make me tick. These are the things that upset me. These are the things you cannot do so I don't go back to, like you said, reverting back to hurt or former things that happened in our past. And we have
right.
to sit down and be transparent and say, can you deal with this?
Which takes me to my next point. When we're putting all that stuff on the table, so to speak, just like we're putting on the table we've got partnership at the law firm. We're putting on the table that we drive this kind of car. We're putting on the table that we're able to do these sorts of vacations. We've got this degree. We've made these accomplishments. All that other stuff, the stuff that you can't put in a bag and hold and carry, but you're still carrying it, all that emotional stuff. When you put all that out on the table, then do we say to each other, can you handle it? Are you willing to see me, love me, and be everything to, with, and for me in addition to this stuff that I have? And that's both genders to each other. But here's my point in all of this, because I'm just listening to this girl's story, and she, she's in a relationship now where she's dealing with someone who knew of her background and said they were able to handle it, but they're not. And the person is not desiring to make any changes or to do any learning or take any steps to help her, but they've actually helped to revert her back to an alarmed state, if you will. And so she's kind of in a struggle because now she's dealing with a person who has worsened her history, got it all flared up, and she still has that history. That stuff has not been resolved. And so she still has the issues from her mother and family and that sort of thing. So I say to people, if you're not willing to do all of that, if you're not willing to accept what your prospective mate is bringing to the table, you need to leave them the hell alone, period. If you're not willing to accept it, to learn how to handle it, to learn how to walk with them. Remember that song? If we want to go Christian, that song is Walk With Me, Lord. Well, if you're not willing to walk with them side by side, hand in hand, step by step through it, you need to leave them alone. And no, you're not going to
Correct.
know how to deal with it. You're going to have to go get help just like they get help. Every caregiver has to be taught how to be a caregiver. You don't
Correct.
just automatically learn how to care for someone, and this is the sickness, if you will, if you want to call it that. This is their area of sickness, and when the time comes that you've got to step up and be caregiver, that means you may have to pick up a book and learn how to deal with a woman who's been sexually abused. Or you may have to pick up a book, or you may have to go take a class or sit in on a group or some therapy sessions with your man to learn how to deal with your man who was sexually assaulted by his, whomever, or
And that's
abused
true.
or abandoned or neglected or whatever the baggage issues are. If we're not, many of us don't know how to handle it because we got our same issues and we ain't fixed them ourselves. Y'all can do it together, or you got to be willing to learn. If you're not willing to learn or to make progress in that area, you ought not to even be in a relationship, period. But definitely not
And
with that person.
and you're right. And just like I tell my children, I said, I've been celibate and not in a relationship, BL, for over 4 years, and I'm good because I got fixing to do on myself before I want to be with someone else, and I wanted to raise my daughter and get that out of the way before I even try to pursue another relationship, which, thank God, I've done that. But like you say, when a person needs to go to therapy, like with my son in the panic attack, he has an appointment this week. I said, I'm going with you. I am going with you. You're 26 years old, but honey, you are not alone, and I want you to know that.
And that's the
And his
key.
brother,
That's the key. Too many people
there
feel
to
like
support
they're
him.
alone and they don't have the
Yes.
support.
And my daughter's there. My other son is there. My other daughter's there. We all talk to him and let him know, you are not alone in this. We will go with you, because when one person in the family has a sickness, everybody needs to join and go to family therapy, because it can bring out some things that they may not know that's wrong.
Right.
And everybody can heal. And I told him, hey, I need to go so I know how to deal with you. Just so happen I know how to deal with a person with anxiety and panic attacks or whatever, because I've had anxiety. And that's the reason why, BL, I knew how to deal with him, and I knew what was going on, and I could spot it. But like you said again, when somebody don't realize that there's a problem, you can't get a solution. But I told my son, I'm there with you. I signed up, baby, for this 26 years ago. I'm there to the day I close my eyes. Now, I'm not going to enable you, but I'm there with you. Right. And I will walk hand in hand with you. And he was like, he was apologizing. I'm sorry. You embarrassed. Baby, there is no embarrassment. You have an anxiety attack. I said, I feel no shame, baby. I said, I can say to everybody, you ain't on drugs, you ain't on alcohol, you had an anxiety attack from unsurmountable stress. You're trying to do everything. You're not asking for help. Maybe if you would have asked for help months ago, you wouldn't have felt like everything was on your shoulders. Because it's not. And it's okay to cry. It's okay to say, I need help. And more people have to do that. And if a person's not going to come in your life and be an asset to you, mentally, physically, emotionally, whatever you need, don't be a liability. You need to go. And if you're causing me to be worse than I already am, I don't need to be with you. Because I'm already dealing with shit. I'm dealing with my own shit. And if you ain't helping me, or you're not saying we're in this walk together, like I tell people, a marriage is not a relationship. It becomes a partnership. That means if I need help, you need help too. Because you need help to deal with me on the shit that I'm going through. So whether you need counseling or not, go with me. Sit with me. Hold my hand. When you make a marriage vow or you're in a relationship, you're saying that you're that shoulder that I can cry on. You're that person I can talk to. I should be able to be 100% transparent with you, and you love me right exactly where I'm at. And if you can't, you need to let me go.